Mark is the only one who ever has anything held against him.
It's amazing how that works. Anybody else can say anything. You can come on here and say that humans never went to the moon and that JFK is still alive in a basement somewhere in Peoria. Nobody will say a thing. I mispronounce a word, the internet destroys me.
So the internet hates you.
I prefer to think of it as a frenemy kind of situation.
Yeah, tough love.
Wow, it sounds like we're dealing with a really long lag.
Oh no, it's not. I'm still getting used to the fact that this is a three-way conversation.
Okay.
Also, the software that we're using, I don't know if I should say it. Well, we're not on air yet, are we?
Well, the Hangout just went live, but that's all right. You can complain about Skype. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we bash it all the time.
I'm not a frequent user of Skype, and I don't know why, but it dropped me directly into a mode that is a speakerphone mode. So let me try very quickly to get into a headset mode, which would definitely be more comfortable for me.
All right.
What I always
look and feel to it.
Yeah, what I always have to do before I start Skype, I disable my built-in mic and I use the one for the podcast. I plug it in and then I start Skype, so it only picks up that one mic.
She's on her phone though, I think, so that may be different.
I've completely ignored everything that you just said for the past 30 seconds because I've been attaching my headset.
Okay. Well, we were just complaining about the conspiracy theories against Nixon. Nothing important. Seth, turn your lower third on.
Is it not always? Let's see here.
Not that it matters. You know why? Because it makes your screen 16:9, and my anal nerve was firing. My OCD nerve.
Well, cool.
All right, that's better. Just holler when you're ready, Beth. It is Beth.
Okay. Beth or Bethlyn. I'm closing a bunch of apps right now so that it doesn't get confused.
What does your best friend call you?
You know what? The Linux community has been calling me Bethlyn since. Oh, geez. Since I was first a part of it in, let's say, 1999. So let's go with that.
All right, Bethlyn it is. Eicher?
Yes,
all right.
That's how it's pronounced. Thank you.
He is much better at that than I am.
Good German name. Maybe Dutch. Probably German.
Oh, it's definitely German. Very good job.
All right. So I'm going to press record a couple of times on a couple of different devices, and we'll get this thing going.
All right. I'm recording now as well.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Everyday Linux, episode 161, Linux Fest, Ohio style. Recorded September 21st, 2014, and brought to you by Element OP Productions. ElementOP.com. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Linux show that's not about Linux, but about life in the context of Linux. I am your host, Mark, the Sultan of the Soapbox Cockerel, and joining me this week is only, as if he's not enough, Seth, the Gooey Kid Anderson. Hello, Seth.
Hey, Mark, and don't worry, everyone, I'm not getting too big for my britches.
Chris is doing a family thing tonight, and so he wasn't able to be with us. Basically, his wife told him that he couldn't be on the show, and we here at Element Opie are nothing if not wife friendly, so we let him have the night off with only a 30% dock in his pay. Also joining us this week, if she is here after our Skype crash, is Bethlyn Eicher, who is going to be telling us about the Ohio Linux Fest. Hi, Bethlyn.
Yeah, hello.
Welcome back. Just as we started the show, she crashed, so she's one of us. That's the way things go here. That was her inauguration to the Skype world. She crashed.
Oh no! I've been using Skype one way or another long before it became an evil Microsoft product. Since about like 06.
Oh, so Seth, she's going to fit right in with you, I think. How do you feel about Apple?
How do I feel about Apple? Now, Apple certainly does have its fanboys. I find that it is a preferable tool to use if your choices are that or Microsoft.
Okay.
However, it is not my general preference, and since I work at a day job as a system administrator, I tend to use whatever my user community will use. And that just happens to be a whole heck of a lot of Apple.
All right.
I'm sorry.
So, Seth, I'm not sure he'll be able to speak to you anymore after having said that, but that's okay.
I'll see y'all next week.
Yeah, we'll make it a two-way conversation.
But trust me, my heart is just definitely bleeds for software freedom.
So Seth is an anti-Apple pro-Microsoft guy. He's the voice of the Windows user here on this show.
Well, as long as I can bash Apple in some ways, I'm happy.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be pro-Microsoft.
Yeah, I mean, it just, that's kind of the way it works out. That's what I use at work. We're pretty much Microsoft shop, and every time somebody hands me their little Apple notebook to connect, my first stop is the bathroom to wash my hands.
At least we're unbiased here. So I just wanted to mention. I didn't mention it last week. I don't know why. Maybe I thought it would jinx me, but I took a whole week off of vacation this week. We left out on Monday, came back on Friday. My family went to St. Simon Islands, Georgia. St. Simon's Island. There's a string of 4 barrier islands off the southern edge of Georgia, known as the Golden Isles. And St. Simon's is the one we chose to go to. Spent the weekend doing very little. It was what I like this time last year we went to Disney World, which was fun, but in no way restful. So this one was very restful. We didn't have a schedule. We just kind of did what we wanted to do. We spent 3 days on the beach, went on a dolphin tour. That was cool. Found a pod of really giant pod of about 24 dolphins feeding off in the St. Andrews Sound, and just kind of hung out while they had their lunch. They they came up and looked at us once in a while, but basically we were, a boat of 40 people. I think actually that they come to watch the people tours, that they come up and wonder why all these people are in a cage on the water, because it really did seem that they were interested in the boat. They would come up. One of them, I called him Norman. Norman was following us. Every time we'd turn, he'd turn. When we'd stop, he'd stop. When we'd speed up, he'd speed up. He just hung with us for about 15 minutes, just checking out the people in the cage on the water. So that was a lot of fun. But I'm back. I'm tanned. I'm rested, and I'm ready to face the work week ahead. I took a peek at my email today. I have 197 unread emails from the 5 days I was away. So that will be most of my morning tomorrow is reading email. Fun.
Yes, I'm sorry. But
it's the price you pay for going away.
It is.
And here the weather it's like fall. Fall. I think today is officially fall, right? This is the 21st. So yeah, today is fall. Tomorrow is the first full day of fall, and the weather here in Georgia has turned. The high this week is supposed to be like 79. So I'm not so impressed with Hotlanta, as I've said before. What about you, Seth? How was your weekend weather?
Well, it was mighty warm. I had this plan. I borrowed a friend's truck, and I was going to split wood and haul it up and stack it and basically there's enough wood down to probably get us through the winter. But I don't know what it was, but it's just like the heat just sapped it out of me, and I ended up getting just one pickup load of wood split and hauled up, and it was hot, even though it was only like in the upper. I mean, like I split the first log. And by the time, it was, I don't know, it was maybe 18 inches round. And by the time I was finished splitting it up into like quarters, there was like just water running off my glasses. I was wearing sunglasses, and there was just like water streaming off of it. So the humidity, it might not have been the heat, but the humidity got me.
Oh, it's not the heat, it's the humidity thing. The stories are that Roosevelt used to. All right, Franklin Roosevelt used to go out and chop wood to relax when the pressures of being president got too much for him. He'd go chop 2 or 3 cords of wood. I think that was Teddy.
Theodore. Yeah, Teddy.
Did I say Franklin? Yeah, Franklin. Obviously,
yes.
he wouldn't have been chopping wood.
No,
it was Teddy Roosevelt. Don't know why I brought that up, other than I hate chopping wood and would rather sit in a cabinet meeting, I think, than chop wood.
I love the actual, the chainsaw, it's okay, but the actual splitting wood, I've got like this 12-pound maul that I use. It's just fun. You hit that log and it splits apart, and you hit it, boom, and then it's like it
makes you feel like Thor. Admit it. It makes you feel like Thor. That's why you like it.
It's like, if I can beat up on this wood, maybe life isn't all that bad. So.
All right, enough about that. Let's get on to what you, our listeners, have to say. We've got a little bit of listener feedback this week, and then we'll jump right into our conversation with Beth Lynn. And as I told her before the show, Beth Lynn, feel free to jump in at any point, whether what you have to say is relevant or not. It doesn't really matter. Just jump right on in. And we'll start with Jim. He says, thanks. He says, guys, I just donated $5 on top of my very small Patreon contribution. Jim, let me just stop you right there. Thanks for being one of our Patreon supporters. It doesn't matter how much your donation. If it's a penny, that's fine. It means that you are putting your money where your heart is, and I appreciate that. And literally every penny you give goes back into making awesome things happen. So thank you for that. Then moving on, he says, I really like the show. Please don't start researching your material, as it would be boring if you were just telling what I already know instead of the crazy error-filled, uninformed views you now espouse. Thanks, Jim. He says, okay, I'm kidding, but not that much. Thanks again, Jim. Yeah, we try not to research anything at all possible, because that would hurt our game, frankly. If we couldn't just spout off random conspiracy theories at the drop of a hat, I'm not sure what the show would be.
Well, and it's like there's nothing we research you couldn't go. Right. There's not like a special network. Special internet for podcasters that everyone else doesn't have. So our opinions and our shtick is really what separates.
You can go to any podcast and get the facts. I mean, as Homer Simpson said, facts are useless. You can prove anything using facts.
Oh.
Yep.
So here we like to give you the commentary, news and comment. Travis, who is becoming a regular co-host of the show, has a few more questions about the NAS. Travis, just buy the NAS already. Just buy it. It starts off, he says, okay, guys, one word, bacon. All right. Now that I'm on the right path for what I want to do, I have more questions. For me, what I want to do is a backup NAS, and I want to serve media and whatnot. Is there a distribution that has more special sauce built in for these particular tasks? What about OS updates? Should I do long-term support versus rolling release? Should not a rolling release have more application in a setup where you don't want to have to nuke the operating system every couple of years? What about the best program for backup? Or is EDL the best backup tool ever still the standard? We did a show called The Best Backup Tool Ever. If not, what about NAS software? What will handle backups from Mac, Windows, Android, and Linux? Plex for media serving, sure. Okay, I got that one figured out. P.S. I've heard insanely great things about the new M2 PCIe SSD drives. You guys should really try these with one of the little mini ITX boards for a Steam box or whatever. They give the project whenever they give the project a final green light. All right, Joe, you were kind of all over the place there. Sorry, not Joe, Travis. Joe's next. So we'll take it from the top. For a NAS, I don't really think there's any one thing that's better than anything else. My tool of choice for years has been FreeNAS, which isn't FreeNAS anymore. It's now called something else. I can't remember what. I will be Googling that while Seth
No,
Vamps.
no, Mark. We're going to be using the special podcast-only internet to
Yes.
research that information.
www.google.com.
If I may, I interject with a very quick plug. We actually have a talk about a distribution for people who want to go ahead and have their own software NAS right out of the box. It's called FreeNAS. That is going to be presented on Friday. Come on down,
right.
Listeners. Come on down.
So I guess it is still FreeNAS. I thought that FreeNAS had become something else. Maybe it did, and now it's back. I don't remember, but I just went to freenas.org, and it's still there. That's my NAS of choice, just because it's simple and effective and can do pretty much anything you want to do without a lot of work. Bethlyn, obviously you have some feedback about that. What do you think about FreeNAS in general?
I think that it is a really interesting tool for people who want the minimal functionality of I want NAS and I want it out of the box and I want a distribution which to do it for me. I understand that it is based on the FreeBSD kernel,
yep.
which is something that might be of interest to some of your listeners. I think that from a system administrator's perspective, that keeping your system tight to do only the things that it's supposed to do is the way to go. Don't, please, whatever you do not say, yeah, I'm going to have a server, and then decide that not only is it a LAMP, then it's also a media server, then it's FTP server, and on and on and on. And you're just going to cause yourself so many headaches tracking down so many patches. Please don't do that to yourself.
Well, and that's exactly what Travis wants to do. He's written in a couple of times before asking about the one box to rule them all. And while you can do that, I tend to agree with Bethlyn there. It's not the best way to do it. Just like it, a Swiss Army knife is a great tool, but it's not a great tool at any of the one things it does. Yes, it's got a screwdriver and a pair of scissors, but neither of them are very good. So the Swiss Army knife of servers tends to do lots of things fairly well.
Travis, if it's an issue of a physical hardware, then go ahead and virtualize that
right.
physical hardware to contain the servers for the specific applications that you need to roll out there.
So now, if you just want a NAS box, FreeNAS is the way to go. As Bethlyn said, it's BSD based, and it has services for Windows backup, Time Machine, good old-fashioned rsync, which will work with everything. It's got plugins for BitSync and CrashPlan and Couch Potato and OwnCloud. It's got a Plex media server component. That's what you're looking for there. It's got a plugin for that. So that's going to meet pretty much the bulk of your needs, I think. And I would bet that it would be pretty simple to install my favorite enterprise backup tool on it. That would be Backup PC, which is Linux based, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be a BSD version of it without any trouble. But you may not need that. Like I said, that's enterprise grade, and I love it for that. But for your home, probably the stuff built right into FreeNAS is going to work just fine for you. So that first part of your question, that's my recommendation. Seth, you got any ideas?
No, I think we've pretty much hit the nail on the head. And, just don't expect that your NAS, if you're buying a NAS, that it's going to be your server component as well. Because for the most part, any server components in a consumer NAS are not going to be very robust or very powerful. So you're going to have some other head sitting on top of your NAS body, and then I think you'll be fine.
Yeah. All right. Okay, I think that's all we have there. So Joe writes in with a couple of questions. He says, "Hello, EDL crew. I have a couple of items that I'll try to keep them short. First, parental controls. My kids are 7 and 5, and they're getting Android tablets this month for their grandma. Yay, grandma! My family does not have smartphones or tablets, and none of us have Android experience. I'm a little concerned about what they'll be able to access. As parents, we can limit the amount of screen time and what apps they use, but we can't prevent them from accidentally stumbling upon something inappropriate. I run Untangle with a web filter, and that seems to work for blocking web pages, but I don't think it will block downloads from within an app store. Will parental controls be something that is in the Android settings, or is that more effectively done with a Boris box? How do you guys handle parental controls for your children's internet-connected devices?" Okay, I'm the only one who can speak to this on this panel, or at least between Seth and me, because he doesn't have kids. I use just an Untangle box is going to be fine there. I don't. The way I handled the app issues is my kids don't know their passwords to the App Store, so they can't download. If they need something, they come to me and I download it for them. That I have 3 kids, they have 3 tablets. That's plenty of overhead for me. So when they need to log on and they have an app they want or some in-app purchase or something like that, they got to come to me to do it.
I'm laughing because I have a niece that I thought it would be a good idea to go ahead and empower her to start to think about what passwords mean to her and actually pick her own password. And I found that Christmas morning is probably an inopportune time to get people to start to think about passwords in retrospect. But anyhow, I've received very urgent texts and phone calls at different occasions of, "Do you remember what I set my password to be?" Oh my goodness. Bless her heart. She's 16.
Now, I have a Google Apps domain. I set it up back when it was free. I believe there is no longer a free version of it. At the time, I could get 50 users for free, and then they dialed it back to 15, and then to 10, and then to 5. The 5 free may still be out there, but I'm not sure anymore. Even so, I would pay for it if they came to me and said you need to pay for this, because it gives me that oversight. I can administrate their Google Apps accounts and their email addresses and all that sort of stuff. So I set and control their passwords through that, and I get a little Android control panel for their tablets. They show up there, and I have some limited control there. But mostly it gives me the ability to log in as them using the web interface and see what they're doing. So that's the way I handle it with web perimeter blocking, like your Untangle box, and then just being a parent. There is no technical substitute for being a parent. So the next question, he says, a Boris box update. Mark, did you ever replace your dead Boris box? What distros did or will you try? I'm mostly content with Untangle. I'm curious to try others. IPFire seems more reasonable for a simple home network and is updated fairly often. pfSense appears to be enterprise grade and extremely powerful, perhaps overkill for a home network. pfSense and Sophos offer country blocking, where you can block all traffic from, say, Russia or Nigeria. That sounds like a very attractive feature, but couldn't the bad guys just circumvent that by using a proxy so it looks like their traffic is coming from Canada or the UK? Is country blocking a nice feature to have, or is it just a gimmick to provide a false sense of security for those of us who don't know any better? Well, again, there's a couple of questions in that question. What I finally did, it's still not final. I'm still working on it. In fact, just this week, I ordered a brand new Buffalo access point router device. I'm playing around with off-the-shelf stuff. Yes, it's fun to build your own router box, but I want to do the experience that the non-geek is going to do. So this box, I don't remember the model number, but it's from Buffalo, and it comes with Tomato built in, not Tomato, DDWRT. So I've got the enterprise grade stuff there in DDWRT built right into the firmware, and so it'll be here probably tomorrow because of my Amazon Prime shipping gets things to it pretty quickly. Right now I'm using OpenDNS, which Carbim1 in the chat room is pointing out. That's right now our only block. It's not great, but it's okay. And again, I think that it's this is difficult because you're talking more about parenting advice than technology advice at this point. My thinking is that it's better to let the kids stumble into something and then pull them back out and explain why that was a bad thing than to block them from it and never give them the experience. So we have OpenDNS. It's fairly wide open. It blocks, the obvious porn and, the really bad stuff, but and ads because they're annoying. But I'm not super restrictive about that sort of stuff. I don't let my kids do a lot of interneting alone. Again, they have tablets, but we keep the tablets. They have to check them out from us. And then, we monitor what they're doing. Again, it's parenting. I don't want to block them. I want to be alongside them as they're doing it, to guide them, not block them. That was the mentality I had when I was in schools. Spent 15 years working in a school system as a network admin, and my philosophy there was your best internet filter is that salaried professional teacher in the room. Let her do her job instead of blocking her and her students. So that same mentality comes home. Some people may find that scary, but I think that's my job, is to be a parent. And the world is ugly, and I can't block them from all ugliness, but I can equip them to handle the ugliness. So in my house, OpenDNS is pretty much all there is to it. Country blocking, I think, is just dumb. You're saying that all people in Russia are bad.
Not practical. Not practical. I'm currently, my day job is in academia, and you've got it's to your advantage when you're in a research institution to be able to be global. And if you're in a corporation, of course you want customers from all over the world. Why would you want to block customers from a certain sector of the world? That would in my former life cause all sorts of grief and havoc if for some reason at my ISP they decided to go ahead and filter out a certain nation from our network, because that would just be incredibly awful, and I think that would be something to look at for the people who are concerned about net neutrality. It's just really not a good idea to let that's what I'm worried about, actually.
Yeah,
I think it's more of it's like a knee-jerk reaction to, like, the cyber ring in Russia and all of the, you hear about these attacks from China. So this is just a knee-jerk reaction that it does raise the bar defense slightly, but anybody who's attacking you, all they have to do is pick their feet up and go over the bar. The only people you're keeping out are the victims over there who now you can't get to and who can't get to you. So while there are maybe some limited cases where it would be good, for the most part, you would not want to block from a country, because it's, as you said in your email, there's so many easy ways around that to make it non-effective for your targeting, and the unintended consequences would cause far more damage than any benefit that would come your way.
And my objection to it is a lot more practical than what Seth and Bethlyn have said here. There are good people in Russia. There are bad people in the U.S. When I block Russia, I am saying there are no good people in Russia. And when I leave the U.S. open, I say there are no bad people in the U.S. That's just dumb thinking. Yes, it is a feature that manufacturers like to put on their boxes. And if you're an email admin, if you're running email, it's actually a good idea there. So when I was in school, for example, I did block foreign email services because nobody there spoke Russian. So it was a way to just cut down on bunches of spam. and we did have one person from an exchange student came in from China and said, I would like to be able to get mail from China. So I said, okay, and so I opened that up. But when it's practical, it's a good way to just cut down the burden on your machine. But you're not serving email, you're not serving anything, you're surfing. So that means all of your connections are going to be outbound, or for the most part, initiated from the outbound. And so blocking them means somebody in your house has made a decision to go to something and you're telling them no. That's fine. You have that right as a parent, but I just think you need to understand what you're doing. You are telling your children that at that point all Chinese people are bad. That's exactly the message you're sending, whether you think it is or not. Or all Russians are bad, or all Czechoslovakians, whatever you do there. So, later on, when you try to talk to them about multiculturalism and diversity, you've kind of shot yourself in the foot by blocking all of Russia and all of China. Maybe they don't know that. They're 5 and 7. But when they're 15 and 17, they'll catch you on that, trust me. Okay, that's all he had there. And then he also had a little something to say about audiobooks. I'll put that in there. He says, by definition, this is not a recommendation. That would imply that I know what you like to read, so it's just my experience. A couple of years ago, I got Stuff My Dad Says, pardon the on-the-fly edit there, by Justin Halpern in hardback form from the local library. By the way, one of the best Twitter feeds ever for a while. It was so funny, I found myself crying at times from laughing so hard. I recently reread it by listening to it on CD. It was still funny, but slightly less enjoyable than reading the paperback book for 2 reasons. One, the reader would change his voice to be all characters, young child, woman, old man. It was annoying at first, but I got used to it. And 2, the prominent character in the book uses foul language, and it seems to me is more offensive when spoken aloud than when read. I found it odd that the reading the curse words on paper didn't make me cringe, but hearing someone speak them did. I know foul language is a turn off for some, so it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but maybe some of your listeners, considering the Audible trial, would enjoy something funny. It's there. I checked. The author recently wrote a book called I Suck at Girls. This is also funny, maybe to a lesser extent. It may also strike a chord considering the high potential for overlap of Linux geeks and glorious ineptitude with the ladies. Thanks for the podcast. Kind regards, Joe. Joe, your experience is mine as well. I found that when I'm listening to an audiobook that uses adult language, it is more forceful than reading it. I guess when you're reading along, you're already parsing that. Your brain is parsing meaning, and when you get to something you don't like, you can just refuse to parse that. I assume that's a skill that we all develop early on. When you're studying in history class and you come to a wrong Russian name, when I'm reading that, I just replace it with Bob and go on. All the characters in Tale of Two Cities were named Bob, by the way. So when you I guess that's a skill that you develop, and if you are one who likes to filter what comes into your mind, then the audiobook may in fact be a bit of a sledgehammer. I found it was for me. I'm reading a very funny book right now by John Scalzi, listening to, called Red Shirts, and it's the old thing, on the Enterprise. Kirk, Uhuru, Bones, and Scotty all beam down to the surface with Ensign Leibowitz, who's not coming back. Well, this book is about a central character who figures that out, and it's pretty funny. It's a great book. I'm really enjoying it. But Scalzi likes to use adult languages and I found that when Will Wheaton, by the way, the Prince of Geeks, who's reading it, when he reads those words, it punches me in the head a little more. So it's interesting to me that you had that same experience. But I do recommend the book in spite of that. If you can turn on those filters, or if you're not one who's bothered by it, the creativity and the humor of the book is great. And again, if you'd like to try Audible, I highly recommend you go to elementop.com/audible and use our trial. You get a free book, free month subscription. They will start charging you at the end of the month, so just be aware. It's the typical bait and switch. You get one free, but if you cancel at any time, they don't pay anything. So sign up, get the book, cancel it 30 seconds later, the book is still yours to keep. And Audible can do that because they know that you're not going to. Once you get hooked on a good Audible book, you're gonna like me. I now just sign my paycheck over to Audible these days because I have rediscovered the joy of quote unquote reading through audiobooks. So there's a little commercial for you there. And then he moves on. He says, "P.S. I'm enjoying Super Cyclone in the background as I type this email. I bet the good folks at Asylum would be totally fine with someone torrenting Super Cyclone in order to send a DVD copy to the bandwidth challenge like Seth. Torrenting Super Cyclone or Sharknado or Army of Darkness. Surely there's a gray area for such gems. I walked up on an office discussion about torrenting just yesterday. I was surprised when a senior manager volunteered that he uses a Tor box for torrenting. This was the opposite of what I expected. It was a 50-year-old guy using Tor while a 30-something remained conspicuously silent about how he gets his media. I really enjoyed this discussion about file sharing and privacy a couple of weeks ago. Piracy, excuse me. All right, Joe, thanks for your thing there. Super Cyclone is definitely a special place there. I'm not sure you will go to jail for torrenting that one. You might go to hell for torrenting that one, for sharing that with other people.
Yeah, I don't think I would want someone to send me a DVD copy of Super Cyclone. But, that's one of those movies, if I'm up at midnight when they're showing it on Sci-Fi, I might stay up and watch it just, to kind of help along with my insomnia. But, yeah, no, I would not pop a DVD in and watch it.
Well, the movie that's out now, Into the Storm, I am certain is exactly the same as Super Cyclone. I think it's just the big budget version of Super Cyclone. Asylum Movies stole the script and made it in 8 days and called it Super Cyclone. But it's Into the Storm. It seems to be exactly the same plot and even some of the same special effects, complete with literal brimstone falling from the sky.
No, see, I don't think they stole the script. I think it's just somebody saw the preview for Into the Storm
so we can
and said,
that.
Let's make that movie and get it out there before it does. So someone said, coming to theaters tomorrow, Into the Storm, and Asylum said, coming to Sci-Fi in 15 minutes, Into Super Cyclone.
Ming-Na Wen at her best. No, not at all.
Well, I look at it this way. There's almost 4,000 free as movies that are available on archive.org. Now, these just so happen to be a lot of the movies that have let their copyright lapse for one reason or another, such that it is royalty free. You can go ahead and download it and pass it on to your friends and display it in a very public place without having to pay for a license. And gosh, by golly gee, who doesn't love free?
Well, free is good. It's even better if what's free is good. And that's not always the case. In the case of Super Cyclone, which, by the way, I just looked it up. IMDb rates it 2.1 stars. I think they're being generous. 2.1 out of 10.
Well, I mean, no, that point, everything gets at least a 1, and then the cheese adds the other 1, and then 0.1 because somebody actually liked it. So that's how you get that number.
But yes, there are lots of free stuff out there. And one of the things that we do on this show often is show you that some of the best stuff in the world is free. What's interesting is we tend to not look for it. We only look like the low budget indie stuff gets overlooked, while the big budget schlock that comes out every summer is heralded. And that's an interesting aspect of humanity, I guess, because we do it with movies, we do it with music, we do it with software. People think Linux sucks because you don't pay for it. I've heard that said so many times. Is it the marketing
that really drives us to be zombies to go ahead and do what it is that we are told to do?
Well, that's their job. I mean, literally, that's their job, is to force you to do something. That the advertising industry has decades of experience at forcing people to do things. So they're good at it. Yay, marketing people.
Woohoo.
Okay, so that's it for our listener feedback this week. Let's jump right into our interview with Ms. Beth Lynn Iger from the Ohio Linux Fest. So let's start first with you, Beth Lynn. Who are you? What do you do with OLF and stuff?
I am the director of the Ohio Linux Fest. I got this title because I opened my big mouth at year one. That was in '03. We were just getting together in the Ohio State University in this auditorium. I believe it belonged to the computer. Everyone who was willing to make the trip into big mouth and just plain marvel, how could we possibly have pulled off such a great event for absolutely positively no cost to the participants. That continues to be a value that we continue on to this day. 11 years later, it's just amazing.
So what makes Ohio Linux Fest different than all the other Linux fests? I mean, there's Northeast, there's Southwest, there's Northwest, there's Texas Linux Fest. Why Ohio Linux? If I were going to pick one Linux Fest to go to this year, sell me on why it should be yours.
Well, we are one of the oldest and the largest, and quite honestly, we have inspired and mentored other Linux Fests to get off the ground over the past few years. We continue to insist on having a gratis registration option. We have the largest portfolio of professional training that's not a gratis option. That's $350 for our offerings in our Ohio Linux Fest Institute. We are truly a weekend-long show. You can come in on Friday and catch a great track called the Early Penguins. We have, 6 whole tracks on Saturday where we talk about really everything under the sun about free software, not just GNU Linux, but we have plenty of offerings for those who are fans of BSD as well. We have quite the bash of an after party that this year it's going to be sponsored by Linode. Very happy to have them on board with that. Very interesting partnership indeed. We have the opportunity to take the LPI exam on site, as well as a diverse, inclusive open source workshop to really bring together a lot of the folks who are really tackling the barriers to entry on so many levels to make sure that we are a more inclusive community as an open source community. That we feel that we can do such a great job at influencing the overall community, not just the folks of Ohio.
So you say you have a gratis, because we can't just use the word free in the Linux context, registration option. So what do I get without paying nothing?
Well, you get in to the door, which you can attend the Friday Early Penguins track. You can attend all 6 tracks on Saturday. You can enjoy the expo. And you can also enjoy the diverse, inclusive workshop if that's something that calls out to you.
Okay, so
Again, an entire weekend long full of programming.
and how many workshops are going on? You said 6 tracks. What give me a rough number of how many are going on?
Well, that's what I'm telling you, that there are 6 concurrent.
Right. So there's 6 at any one time.
Tracks.
How many of them are then stacked? What are their increments? Every hour? Every 40 minutes? Every?
Oh yes, every hour.
Okay. So
the hour.
roughly 50 a day.
Well, we pack most of the action into the Saturday because again we're packing 6 tracks into not even 24 hours. Goodness,
Right.
We're talking about like 10 hours, and you really can't not be beat.
Right. Okay. Seth, what questions do you have? I'm hogging the interview as I want to do.
Well, you're doing. Who all is going to be there? Like, I know there's going to be like several different keynotes. Anybody we would have heard of?
And we just lost our Skype connection, so we'll dilly-dally a little bit while she tries to come back. Let's see, should we just pause here? Yeah, we'll just do that. We'll just pause here, and I'll cut this out.
Okay.
So we can talk about the weather or shoes or ships and sails and sealing wax, cabbages and kings.
Does it automatically?
She's
Is she back?
She's back.
Okay.
Right? We're back?
Okay, Seth was going to ask me a question, and then Skype said, no, you don't actually want Seth to ask a question.
So the question was, who is going to be at the conference this year? Who are some of your key speakers?
Well, let me talk a little bit about my keynotes. So we've got Ruth Sue Lee. She is one of the authors of the popular O'Reilly book, Raspberry Pi Hacks. And you also might know her as the lifestyle editor on redhatsopensource.com.
Yeah, we actually had a short interview with her that played a couple of weeks ago. I met her at LinuxCon. Just, I guess it's last month now.
Yeah, absolutely. She's a very positive individual, and some you might not realize, but she's fairly passionate about the Fedora community as well.
All right. And who's up next?
Oh, we have Ken Heliostarts of the Reglue project. This is a nonprofit that's run out of Austin, Texas, that will, what I like to call, upcycle desktops and go ahead and put the GNU Linux operating system on them. The reason why I say upcycle instead of recycle or refurbish is that I feel that you get a far better value with the free software desktop than you would with a proprietary solution, because not only is it the principles of freedom are there for you, but if you're in front of a proprietary desktop, new out of the box, what you will get is not a whole heck of a lot of applications. And the what Reglue will do for, I should definitely specify it as that this is for children to use in their homes, and he has worked not only in the Austin, Texas area, but nationally to work with children and families, such that the educational needs of the child are definitely met with all the wealth of the information that is on the internet, the essential suite to put together your project for school. That these are also essential tools for life that sometimes the parents will go ahead and use and find this is a tool to help them perhaps out of poverty. Ken Heliostarks, if you've never met him or if you never heard from him, he's just one awesome sort of guy. You're going to be like, wow, I'm in the presence of a saint. Because he's just, honest to goodness, doesn't have a day job. This is his full-time life to do nothing but serve others. My goodness, God bless him.
Yeah, there are a number of projects like this, and it's a great thing. It's taking somebody's cast-off technology, it's fixing it and making it better, and then giving it to people who need it. That's great. That'd be great to hear him speak. And then after that, who do you have? You have John Hall. Is that what I see there?
Yes, John Mad Dog Hall. He's definitely a favorite of the Ohio Linux Fest audience. He comes to us from Linux International. If you happen to follow him on social media, you'll see, oh yeah, wow, you were in Brazil this week, and next week you're in Germany, and the guy is a globetrotter because he founded the Linux International specifically to reach out and talk to people, and he has a specific passion for talking to the college students or really any young people about the benefits of free software. But you know what? He wrote an article lately on his blog that really made me think. He said, "Never again will I talk about software freedom or the benefits of software freedom. Instead, I will ask people why they insist on using proprietary software." So therefore, I'm thinking that he's going to take this brand new spin on his advocacy and outreach about reaching out to people and ask why they insist on proprietary software to make it more applicable to our everyday lives, not just our own behavior, but why would you consider first a proprietary option in your day job? Why would you consider a proprietary option for people in your family when you're considering holiday gifts, that sort of thing?
Yeah. John Hall is also the epitome of the term neck beard. That beard comes straight out of the neck there. Great. He's what you expect to see when you think of a Linux advocate.
Well, he definitely wants people to think of him as some form of a pirate, I guess. he went really crazy with the Pirate Day. Which was immediately followed by Software Freedom Day. Software Freedom Day was yesterday, everybody. How did you guys celebrate, by the way?
I sat on my couch most of the day and did nothing. I was free from software yesterday.
Yeah, I cut wood and celebrated a friend's daughter's birthday, so I didn't really I didn't do much on the computer at all yesterday.
You know, that would be a fun phone app, is to list all the days that a given day is. because there's a day for everything. Today is wear your underwear backwards day. Also Valentine's Day. Whatever. Okay, anyway, back to Ohio Linux Fest. So I'm not in Ohio. I'm in Atlanta. Is it... This is a loaded question. Is it worth it for me to truck up to Ohio and spend 3 nights in a hotel and pay for airfare to go to Ohio Linux Fest?
Well, absolutely. Truth be known, I personally live in Chicago. Therefore, I'm doing the same thing. So I'm definitely not recommending anyone do anything completely odd that I personally wouldn't do. Another thing I'll ask you specifically about Atlanta, so I'll pick on you for a little bit. Do you remember the Atlanta Linux Showcase?
I've only been here a couple of years, so no.
Okay. Well, the Atlanta Linux Showcase was a show that I think it had like 3, maybe 4 good years there in Atlanta, and it was a community-run conference. A conference that was run by perhaps a large marketing firm for one specific brand, that it's for us, by us sort of show. Now, if you feel more comfortable waiting all the way until next June, then yes, I suppose I would definitely advise you to wait and drive to your nearest Linux Fest, which is the Southeast Linux Fest, which I believe would perhaps be in either North or South Carolina. However, if you really got the itch that I really need to hang out with my peeps and find out what's new, and really immerse yourself in the overall culture, then absolutely please do come up and to Ohio this October. That's exactly where you need to be.
So would you classify the Linux Fest as more of a hangout or of a learning opportunity? I understand it's both, but which is it that most people are there to do? Are they there to hang out with other geeks, or are they there to learn and teach?
Everybody will learn something at the Ohio Linux Fest, because there is just such a broad people and interests coming together that you're not going to necessarily see if you just go to your local user group and hang out and eat pizza. Then you're going to get more than a little of both, put it that way.
All right. Seth, anything you wanted to say?
No, we've been covering it good so far. Well, my question would be, like, is this something that, like, the super geek, I can command line and do Vi in my sleep kind of person needs to go to, or just the everyday user who's like, I downloaded Linux Mint and I play around with it? Would they get a lot out of the Ohio Linux Fest, or is it more for the people who are already in the know, so to speak?
Well, we've got something for everybody. We've got advanced level talks and we've got beginner talks. But no matter where you are on the spectrum, one track that we have is called the career track. So if you are a college student who is trying to figure out where to go from here, then that would be something of interest. Also, if you're a seasoned professional looking to make a move, or perhaps a professional in transition, that's another great reason for you to be there at the Ohio Linux Fest.
All right. So as we're sort of wrapping this up here, what did we forget to ask you? What did you come here wanting to say and you haven't gotten to say it yet?
Our URL is ohiolinux.org. Our event is at the Greater Columbus Convention Center, October 21st. Just come on down. We'd love to have you.
So where does it meet? Does it meet in the hotel, or is it near the hotel and that's just where you can stay, or what?
It is at the Greater Columbus Convention Center.
Okay.
We have relationships with 2 hotels that are under the same roof. However, you can stay wherever you want, and we just love to have everyone.
Awesome. And what you said there was the free track and the paid track. Is there anything in between? There was the you said $300, right, for the advanced whatever. What's it cost? That's what I'm getting at.
It's $350 for the OLFI. That is our professional training, which happens on Friday, where you get a full-on focused tutorial with some industry experts, whether it be a certification cram from LPI or professionals from Red Hat who do Red Hat training, or our other course offerings. I believe we have also a course in Get, that we have something for both programmers, sysadmins, people who are just getting acclimated to Linux and now have something to prove with the certification program that's where you need to be. We have 2 other options of which you can give us money. We have the dinner with the keynotes. That is a special opportunity that will happen on Friday night, and we will only sell a limited amount of tickets for that, and the price is $60. And we would like you to take advantage of our after party. That is $5. That's basically to guarantee that you're serious about hanging out with us for the evening, and we definitely make it up with the food and beverage offerings that we have.
How much? Which of these could I bring my 7-year-old to?
Well, I would definitely advise your 7-year-old register for the Enthusiast Pass. That is the gratis pass.
All right. What about the parties? Are they tend to be more adult in nature?
Well, if your 7-year-old wants to come along to the after party, then he's welcome to do so, as long as you're going to keep close tabs on him.
Okay. I'm just trying to. Yeah, I don't know anything about it. I'm just trying to get a sense for it.
I'm definitely not going to restrict any young people to come and enjoy the Ohio Linux Fest and everything that it has to offer. Quite honestly, we had a couple years back a week-old baby attend the Ohio Linux Fest.
Wow. Well, it's not uncommon for geeks to get together and for debauchery to abound. And if that's what happens, that's fine. I just, want our audience to know before they go into it. Is this the kind of place where you go and learn Linux and compile kernels and then you go get slobbering drunk? Or is this a place that's more family oriented? I'm okay either way, just need to know.
Well, we strive to be more family oriented. It's not to say that we don't welcome the party animals. It's just that the party animals that we've had will show up at the after party, have their one beverage, and then they'll congregate amongst themselves, and then they'll enjoy neighborhood establishments down the road, and sometimes I've joined them at the neighborhood establishments down the road, and these people are a lot of fun too.
So the debauchery takes place at the bar. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, you could wander off to the bar. It is a happening area called the Arena District, where there are a substantial amount of nights to cater to the people who just got out of the NHL hockey game, or just got out of work from the downtown area.
Right.
Therefore, we're blessed with a plethora of bars and clubs to enjoy as well, if that's what you're into.
All right. Well, I think we've got a pretty good idea of what the Ohio Linux Fest is. Is there anything else you needed to say? Any parting comments? Anything that we left out?
I will state again, we are ohiolinux.org, October 24th through the 26th. We are celebrating the future of free. Click on the registration to go ahead and lock yourself in for that enthusiast pass.
All right,
We'd
so
love to have you.
Free if you pay in advance. I see on your website $5 at the door. Fair enough.
Exactly.
All right.
We need to know that you're coming.
And okay, Bethlyn, this is the part of the show where we jump into some news and comment, and some of it is researched and most of it is not. Would you like to join us for the rest of the show, or would you like to bid a fond farewell now? The choice is yours. We won't be upset either way.
Sure, I'll interject.
Okay, so you're going to hang on there. Excellent. We like it when our guests do that. I don't know why. It makes us feel special. You like us. You really like us. But before we go on any further, I want to tell you that yet another place where you can get your Linux learning on. Festivals are certainly a good place to go, but our good friends over at the linuxacademy.com offer some great resources for you to do, maybe follow up with, or before you go, particularly if you're on that professional track, wanting to move from being just a guy who knows some stuff to being a guy who gets paid to know stuff. Linux Academy is a place to go for there. They do this by the way of step-by-step video courses designed to take you from being a beginner to being a certified professional. They've got some really new, cool new things coming up here. I know you guys have heard us talking about them every week for a year now, and you probably think, gosh, I could do this ad in my sleep now. Good, that means it's working. But just this week, they've released some new stuff. Now, we've talked to you before about the Linux labs that they have. So they have the virtual servers running in the Amazon Web Services system. So they're super high reliability, super fast. You can tear one up and destroy it to your heart's content, and then reset it and start over again. It's a great, safe place to learn stuff. So while you're watching these videos, while you're practicing, while you're trying to learn this stuff, it's a safe place to go. Well, now they've expanded that capacity. You can now have, you've always been able to have up to 8 different distributions. Now you can have 4 of them running at once. So you can set up a database server and then set up a web server and see how those two communicate with another, and then set up a client in that protected environment and have it go back and forth. But you can have 4 of them running at a time, and you can you get public host names for them. So you can actually access them now over the internet live and do some real experiments. This is all new stuff, new features that they've added at no additional cost. They've just expanded their offering. So that's one of the cool new features about that. But not only do you have the videos and the hands-on stuff, but if you're a written word kind of guy and you like to see things in print, they have downloadable PDF study guides that are time-coded for all of the videos. So you're watching this video, you've got this time code of what's going on here, and it tells you, at this point, this is what they talked about. So you can read it, then you could go back and watch it, then you could go read it again, then you can go to your lab and experiment with it and try to reproduce it, and then you can move on. It's all amazing for learning at your own pace. They give you all these great tools. They have well over 200 videos. They're adding another 100 before the end of the year. They're just cranking things out right now. Not just Linux, but also Amazon services and OpenStack. They're doing all these things. They have this lesson browser. They've had this all along. This panel interface where you have your lesson browser, so you can just say, I want this lesson, I want that lesson, and it tracks them as you go. It says you've taken this, you did this, you took this quiz associated with. Did I mention quizzes? Oh yeah, there are quizzes that go along with it, so you can submit your knowledge. Once you've read about it, once you've watched it, once you've experimented with it, you can test yourself on it and see how well you did, and that tracks everything on. And they've got these modules that we've talked about before, but they have added a whole new thing. It's learning plans. You can tell them, I want to devote an hour of my day for the next 20 days to Linux Academy, and here's my objective. And it will spit out a lesson plan for you, and it'll tell you what you need to do. It'll tell you what order you need to do them in. It will track them as you go, and as you get long, say you only do 45 minutes one day, and you say you're going to do an hour, it'll say, hey, you're deficient here. You need to come back here. And so it's your own personalized learning plan. It's not just the stuff that's out there. It's not just a catalog of stuff. It creates a personalized environment for you based on how much time you're willing to spend and what your objectives are. It gives you a projected completion date, the course, and gives you the time included for studying. So this is how much offline time we expect you to spend. This is how much lab time. It's very much like a college course where the syllabus is generated for you. It's really an amazing new feature that they've just rolled out this week, and I, for one, am super excited about it. You can get all that for a ridiculously low price. What's that ridiculously low price? About $25 a month. All of this stuff, hundreds of videos, personalized learning, 4 servers running at once in Amazon's cloud service for $25 a month. But if that's too much for you, we can do better than that. If you purchase a quarter, 3 months at a time, that drops down to $20 a month. If you purchase annually, it's $199. $200 one time for a year. That breaks down to like $16.70 something a month. You will not find this quality of learning for that price anywhere on the internet. I stand by that statement. You're just not going to do it. When you go, use the code EverydayLinux when you sign up. Let them know that we sent you.
You did a great job, Mark, covering all the bases there. Here's what I would suggest to people. We talk about it all the time. Don't jump off and buy the 1 year up front and say, hey, I'm going to do this, because while they give you a whole bunch of options to fit your learning needs, go 1 month and give it the test drive. $25 to invest in your future is nothing. You go through, you take the courses, they're divided into small, easy to digest bits. After 1 month, then you'll realize you like it, and you realize it's something that can take you into gainful Linux employment. Then fire off for the course or for the quarter, or go for the whole year. And it's well worth the time. It's well worth it. They get my money.
That's right. And Seth doesn't pay for anything. So the fact that he pays for them, not only do they sponsor the show and support content that you like, but they're good enough that Seth pays for it. That's better than any ad that I could give. All right, I'm going to take this moment to do a quick reset of my system because my hardware sucks. I'll be right back. Just a second. That's something I have to do after about an hour of recording, Bethland. I haven't figured out what the glitch is, but oh well.
I am here.
So
is Seth here?
Seth's here.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay.
Fantastic.
So picking up where we left off, I have no good intro for this first news story. It's just freaking cool. How about being a bionic man? Well, we're almost there. The exoskeleton is the first step, and some guys they're making it happen.
Yes, the dream of mechs walking around the battlefield, we're not quite there yet, but they're developing something called a soft exosuit, and it's kind of, the suit mimics the action of the wearer's leg muscles and tendons, so when you're walking, it's kind of helping your muscles to walk so you don't get as tired. You can go further, you can carry more. It's being developed by Harford, and it's only a $2.9 million contract awarded by DARPA, and they're the same grant money that helped develop the initial internet. So I think it's kind of cool. And again, this isn't like an exosuit, mechanicalized thing, but it's just basically clothes you'll wear, and it kind of mimics your muscles, so your leg muscles aren't carrying, that 100-pound rucksack. The suit itself is also helping to do some of that muscle action, so it doesn't take as much, and at the end of the day you're not as tired, you haven't wasted as much energy, and of course if you're a soldier in the field, then you have more energy left for combat or whatever it needs to be. But I just thought it was really cool. This is something I ran across on technewsworld.com, and of course the link will be in the show notes, but I think it's pretty cool to read.
Yeah, so it's not like Iron Man's exosuit, as cool as that would be. This is more like strapping on a knee brace before you go for a run, but it's a super smart knee brace. There's not a lot to it. It looks like it would probably only weigh a couple of pounds, but if you do the materials right, you don't need much of them.
Right. And so, it looks really cool.
I read an article just this week. If I can find the link, I'll put it in the notes. Google Now. I love Google Now on my phone. It started recently suggesting stories to me as it saw my search history and the sort of things I search. It's suggesting things that I should read, and by golly, is it right most of the time. But this one is about a jetpack, right? So we all want jetpacks that make you fly like James Bond. This jetpack has a whole different purpose. The purpose is to make an average guy run a 4-minute mile. So it's not super thrust. It's not rocket fueled. It's not gonna fly you off over the Grand Canyon. But it's designed to make you run faster with less energy. And it was a guy. He was a welder. And he started experimenting with it as part of his college project. They have a prototype, and they currently have just a regular college kid they drafted, not a trained runner at all. And they've got him running right now like a 4-minute and 30-second mile, and at the end of it, he's not spent. He hasn't been sprinting that whole time. He's been running at a relaxed pace with this jetpack pushing him along, making it easier. So he gets longer strides, less energy per stride. So they had him run just regularly, and then they measured his energy output with the jetpack on. He's running faster, carrying an 11-pound jetpack, and expending less energy than he was running slower, not carrying anything. So super cool piece of technology there.
That is pretty cool.
Someday this is all going to coalesce together, and we're going to have the Tony Stark Iron Man suit abilities, but it won't look anything like the Iron Man suit. It'll look like a guy wearing a knee brace and an elbow pad.
Yeah.
I'm excited. This is the future. We are living in the future. And I'm super excited about it.
I used to do half marathon running. Well, it was more along the mixture between walking and running because I'm still pretty new to the sport. But I felt that the part of the challenge was to see what your own human body can accomplish. Now, like, whenever I first saw this topic, I thought, well, I've heard of technical T-shirts that claim that they're going to sew in to the T-shirt a better way to track your heartbeat and get that heartbeat to you somehow in an audible manner, maybe via a Bluetooth. That would definitely be something that I would think that athletes would be interested in. However, if you're doing what you've been discussing, then you're not really doing it for the athletics of it. You're doing it for assistance. Now, it kind of makes me think, well, gee, is there some sort of application that this technology would be better spent on helping people with disabilities. However, I don't see anything wrong with somebody who has the desire to go ahead and boost their running.
The fact is, it's a lot easier to enhance than it is to replace. So if you're replacing a leg, that's a lot more work than assisting a leg. So the technology may be moving in that direction, but it's got to start somewhere, and assistive technology is the better way to go. So you use this same technology, you dial down that jetpack, and now you're not running a 4-minute mile, but you're walking without a walker. It's providing thrust and lift in that way. So it's certainly possible, but you got to start somewhere. And of course, military is the place where you have the biggest budgets. So if you can make a better soldier, you're going to get paid for your research.
Well, I think, quite honestly, it's going to be used by tourists, like segways are used by tourists, and you wouldn't have to have the overhead of where you're going to park these darn things once you get to where you're going.
Maybe.
Yeah, well, and for like in my situation when I'm out cutting wood, I'm unfortunately I'm getting older and I'm not in great shape. So a couple of hours and I was spent. So if I had a suit, just something like the article I linked to, then at the end of a couple of hours I'm still good to go and I can get more bang for my working buck. And on the one hand, it's like, why bother to exercise? I've got super clothes. And on the other hand, because I spend my days in a day job, I don't have a lot of time to work around the property at home, and something like this would help me maximize my working outside. So, but it's easy to quit developing your muscles, be they your arm and leg strength or your mind and memory, when you have the technology to do that for you. But if you continue to develop yourself, then when you add the technology on top of that, then you get into something special.
And so what better segue to go from this to Comcast, who has decided that if you do something that doesn't let them snoop, they're going to cut you off. This is just dumb.
How is this news?
Well,
quite honestly,
yeah, according to the original story, Comcast said if you use Tor to browse the internet, we're going to cut you off. And granted, there's a lot of illegal things going on in Tor, but there's also a lot of people who just like, I don't care. You don't have any need to know what I'm doing. I want to watch my cat videos in total privacy. And so Comcast has released a statement saying that this report was wildly inaccurate, and that there is no stated policy against its customers using Tor. And probably what they meant to say was there's no written policy. It's all been done verbally. But yeah, Comcast, they've been in the news a lot for being incredibly stupid. And I think this is just another instance where somebody caught their stupidity and they backpedaled a little bit. But yeah, I don't understand. I mean, I understand from their point, they want to be able to see what you do, and of course they say, well, if you're torrenting, the latest Hollywood blockbuster, blah blah blah. But what they want to be able to do, they want to see what you're doing so they can serve up ads to you, and in addition to receiving your money for paying their service, they want to then be able to turn around and earn more money off of you by packaging ads to sell you. And so,
and also targeting services, because they want to know that if you're downloading, torrenting or using a VPN to look at sports stuff, well, look, we have a sports package that we can offer you, and you don't have to be a felon to do it. So there's lots of reasons to want to look at what somebody's doing. None of them are reason to cut off somebody's account. We think we can't tell that you're not doing bad, so we're going to assume that you are and disconnect you.
Yeah. And like I say, they did come out and say that this story was wildly inaccurate. I don't know how wildly it was.
What's
but
crazy
yeah,
though is so let's stipulate that it is. Fine, Comcast, we agree that it's wildly inaccurate. But your behavior over the last several years has been such that we all totally believed it because it totally seems like something Comcast would do. That says to me, Mr. Comcast executive, that you have a brand problem.
Yeah, because the reason the story came about is Comcast representatives, and whether they were Comcast employees or people in India outsourced following the Comcast script, they branded Tor illegal and told customers that using it was against the company policies. So if it was just poor training, which I doubt, or if it's the fact that crap, somebody's caught onto us, we've got to stop. It sounds, just from what we know about Comcast, that the crap, they're onto us, we have to stop is the correct answer, and not they weren't properly trained. So yeah, totally agree.
So let's just say, fine, this isn't real. The fact that we all were so ready to believe that it's real and it didn't seem out of character seems to me like something you've got to fix, Comcast. I dumped Comcast after they got my bill wrong for the 9th month in a row. I was pretty much done with them after that. After 9 months of billing me incorrectly, I was done. You know what else I'm done with? I'm done with old Android browsers that use the WebKit, because nobody does that. But there's still a lot of them out there. And there's a bug.
Wait, doesn't Chromium still use the WebKit somewhere?
It's not. It's a new code base. It's not the same code base in this story.
Okay.
Yeah, there was the bug was reported back in September, and it is only for versions before version 4.2. Starting with 4.2, Google switched to Chrome, and but even then, some of the core parts of Android browser. But basically, what happens is, if you're using these old versions, and of course, tablets have become, they're not a computer, they're a consumable. And so we're not going to give you an update to the latest version of Android on your tablet that fully has the hardware specs to run it. We're just going to make you buy a new tablet. And so people are like, I spent $5 on this tablet from China. I don't think I need to get rid of it yet, so I'm going to hold on to it. But yeah, there's only I'm looking for the bug.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll say that a lot of low-cost providers like Cricket, which is popular here in the southern U.S., even some Sprint or Verizon's, they will give you a free phone, which is an old phone running like Gingerbread. My sister-in-law had quote-unquote new phone running Gingerbread because it didn't take much technology, so they could take an old off-the-shelf stuff that's readily available and cheap, slap together a free phone to give to somebody who signs up for these things. So this browser is out there. It's the old Android browser before they moved to Chrome,
right,
in their thing. So it's the old, that globe icon, that greenish bluish thing, instead of the Simon Says that we're all familiar with now. Doesn't it look like a Simon Says? It's
it really does.
Yeah. Those are still out there, and this is a serious. Let me back up. A potentially serious bug, so that if you know what you're doing and if you know to expect this person to browse your website, you can inject some malicious JavaScript that will cause the browser to give up cookies, and not only cookies but read password fields. That's the dangerous part. But there's a lot of hoops to jump through to make it work, and but the fact is, it's still out there. There's still a large user base of these broken things out there that will probably never be updated.
Yeah, and like one of the things I do on my Android tablet is I went into the settings, because I don't use Chrome. I use the Android one just because I'm on it so infrequently. But I have checked in the settings to always ask for the desktop version. So you would think anything that was going to be targeted this would target the mobile version of the site. And so maybe one way around it, just check that box to use the desktop, or switch to Chrome.
Right.
But yeah, it's uses JavaScript, specially constructed in a way to kind of open up your system a little bit beyond what it would be done by default.
Yeah, so reading my password as I type it, that's a bad thing. But there's, and because that's a rich minefield, or a rich gold mine, that's what I meant to say, there's reason to put effort into it. And it's not, the thing is, you would have to set up a page that spoofs a bank page that has this injected thing and trick somebody into entering their bank credentials. Well, if you're going to do that, you've already got it. So the other thing is you have to get them to log in, grab their password, and hope they use that same password on some other site, which lots of people do. So there's, it's a lot of work to exploit this. But so I don't want you to go panic, but at the same time, it's worth noting because there is a vast potential for this to be exploited.
Yes. So yeah, it's not one of those the sky is falling, but it does look like rain. So
because a lot of these cheap tablets, for example, don't even have the Google Play Store on them, so they're not going to be updated.
Well, and with Google's terms of service, if you have the older browser, you're no longer eligible for the Google Play Store. Like I bought this cheap little 4-inch tablet for $10. I mean, I was like, okay, it's $10. What can I do with it? I looked around. I was like, I've already got these 3 tablets sitting over here that I just leave, unplugged. So I don't really need this one. But you could not load or you could not access Google Play. Now, they had set up this other side-loading app store that you could get games and stuff from, but you're not going to be able to get the latest and greatest stuff unless one, you trust those developers, and which I mean I think they're probably safe. But anyway, so I ended up giving it to somebody for their young kid, their first tablet for them to break and learn stuff on.
All right, and shifting gears a little bit, one of the rules of watching politics is follow the money, and somebody did just that and found a not surprising link between people who make money and people who oppose net neutrality.
Yes, unfortunately, senators who oppose net neutrality make bukus more in campaign contributions than those who are for net neutrality. On
average, 40% more.
Yeah, and when you're talking millions or hundreds of thousands in this case, that 40% more of 100,000, I mean, that adds up.
Yeah. And we got to say correlation does not prove causation, but again, you got to follow the money. Down the line, the guys who are backing the people who want to create a quote unquote internet fast lane, make more campaign contributions across the board because they're required to report this, and you can line up their stance on the issue and the amount of money they made in the last couple of years, and there's a striking correlation to it.
Yeah, and and one of the things they did was they didn't just do all campaign contributions. They looked at contributions from cable and satellite TV production and distribution and telephone utilities. So they limited themselves to just those because otherwise, you get this one anyway. They just to kind of make the playing field level. And like I say, 140,000 in those from those categories versus 100,000 for other people. So,
which may explain the next story, where FCC Chairman Wheeler has made impassioned speeches to the point that he is for an open internet, but what he actually puts in the proposal is a very different thing.
Right, and just the title of the article, in the FCC's own words, Chairman Wheeler has proposed online discrimination, paid prioritization, and exclusive deals. And so they have some experts, one from his speech on May 15th. This agency supports an open internet. There is one internet, not a fast internet, not a slow internet, one internet. The potential for there some kind of fast lane available to only a few has many people concerned. Personally, I don't like the idea that the internet could be divided into haves and have-nots. I will work to see that does not happen. In this item, we specifically ask whether and how to prevent the kind of paid prioritization that could result in fast lanes. But his proposal says, we propose to adopt the text of the no blocking rule that the Commission added with a clarification that it does not preclude broadband providers from negotiating individualized, differentiated agreements with similarly
situated.
Yes, similarly situated edge providers. Sorry, it was just I couldn't say the word. So basically, talk's a good game, but when push comes to shove, it's it's a load of crap. And again, he was like a lobbyist for the AT&T telecom industry before he took this job, so he is very familiar with the concept because he was working hard to destroy it before he took over this post.
So part of this quote says that as long as a provider does not run does not offer content. Now it's a contagious, Seth. So long as broadband providers do not degrade lawful content, so they can degrade illegal content, I'm fine with that, or service to below minimum levels of access. What is below minimum? Minimum is as low as it can go. So as long as you're not below as low as it can go, you're fine. What?
Yeah, that's like, I have up to 50 terabytes of service at my house. I never get over a meg, but I have up to, I'm sure 50 terabytes. I could get a 50 terabyte pipeline. It's up to that. They don't ever have to give it. They just have to say up to. So, yeah. I don't know. Well, anyway, it's the same conversation we have all the time because they're so good. Well, it's important, but nobody seems to care. That's the sad part. This is important, but nobody cares.
Yeah.
Sorry to get all depressed.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. It's important, but it's hard to make anybody. It's hard to make impassioned speeches, but there's only so much internet ire. Believe it or not, the ire meter does run out on the internet, and when you're done complaining about the person who used WHOSE instead of WHO''S, once all that's used up, there's only so much left over. And we went black to block SOPA and PIPA, and that pretty much ran the tanks dry. And so now here we are going with net neutrality, and nobody has. We're just out. So what we really need is the FCC chairman to misquote a Star Trek reference. That will get the internet fired up about it. But until that happens, nobody's going to care.
Whoa. There was a Daily Show about this about 2 months ago, and people were caring then.
Right, a very small percentage of the overall population.
Yes, they were caring then, not because of the term net neutrality. They just happened to notice things started to get really slow whenever they were trying to watch their favorite Netflix movie, and that made them upset.
But it didn't make anybody upset enough to actually affect anything. It made people upset enough to make some headlines on Gawker or on Lifehacker. It didn't make anybody upset enough to actually affect the legal process. And so this is going to happen. We are going to end up with a tiered internet, at least in the U.S., and the other countries will follow. And we're going to get what we asked for, whether we knew what we were asking for or not.
I really wish, Mark, that I could step in here and just destroy you, but unfortunately, we can't because the problem is there will be people who complain about this because it's easier to complain than it is to actually do something about it. The whole term slacktivism. I clicked this link that said it's a bad thing, so I'm done. I made my contribution to society. therefore I'm not going to cancel Netflix. I'm not going to cancel, Comcast Pay on Demand because that interferes with my leisure. So as long as you don't interfere with my leisure, I don't really care, and that's what we're dealing with, unfortunately.
But you know what people do care about? New gadgets, including 3 new tablets from Amazon.
Yeah. Amazon Fire has come out with their HD, their new things are coming out, and you can get a 6-inch Kindle Fire HD for $99 and a 7-inch for $139. If you want the big 9-inch one or 8.9, it's $379. And I gotta admit, I'm thinking real hard about pulling the plug on these because Amazon has the ASAP, and I spent all this time looking it up, and now I didn't put those links in the store. But basically, I didn't put those links in the show. What it does is it looks at what you've done to try to pre-cache what it thinks you will like, or if you select the wish list, it will go out and download those, so that way, and it'll kind of queue them up so that you can just press play and not be not wait while they're buffering. And in some place like a bandwidth impaired house like mine, it has the potential to be really good because I could say, hey, I want to watch these 5 movies, and then in a day or a week or however long it takes, I'll be able to watch, or I can take them to work and leech off the free guest Wi-Fi there, and then when I press play, they will be there. This is the whole reason I don't have Netflix, is because Netflix doesn't offer any way to queue up next movie or 2 that I want to see. Of course, the only downside of this is it tends to go wild, and a lot of people have done studies showing that they use, say, 20 gigs of data a day unless they have their Fire plugged in which case it's 60 gigs because it aggressively caches and it seeks to peg your bandwidth. So yeah. I would need to come up with some way, maybe put in like an untangle or something that would limit the amount of data it could suck.
So being a parent, what appeals to me here is their kids version. So it's basically costs 50% more. It's $99 straight up, or $149 for the kids version, which is a little more ruggedized. But for 2 years,
sign me up for that.
If for 2 years, if they break it, they'll replace it. No questions asked.
Yep.
So essentially, you're paying a 50% insurance fee, as opposed to a 100% replacement fee. So for you instead of $99, you pay $149. It comes with a nice rugged case and some special kids related software. And then for 2 years, if the kid throws it out the window, or you drive over the car over it, or you flush it down the toilet, they'll replace it, no questions asked. That's understanding your target audience right there.
Yeah, I like I say, I think it has the potential to get me to, sip the Google Kool-Aid, or not the Google, but the Android Kool-Aid, and then go in with because I would have to get Prime, and then I would get just the shows that have the Prime offerings. So this has I've been researching this hard and like asking their support questions that I guess they didn't think anybody would ask because they don't know the answer to it. I ask them a question and I'm waiting 10 minutes while they research, and then they answer and I ask them another question and they're like, crap, this guy has real questions. And
this thing is, it's not Android. It's Android in the background. It's the Kindle Fire OS. So right. You don't get the Android Play Store. And you don't get the full Google experience, but it's Android in the background. But it's real specs here. It's a quad-core 1.5 gigahertz processor, 6-inch 1280 by 800, so it's a half HD display, front and rear cameras. This is 16 gigs for $119. It's a real tablet. Again, it's not pure Android. It wouldn't surprise me, though, if somebody comes out with a Cyanogen mod hack for it pretty quickly. And, of course, this is Amazon's play at this is to sell you a consumption device. They want you to use Prime and do the streaming and look, whatever I need is here in the everything store, Amazon. So I'll just buy it right here from my tablet, and I think it's going to work.
Yeah, because one of the things they did at first when it came out, there was really no way to differentiate what was Prime offering and then what was stuff you had to purchase a la carte. And so, that ticked some people off, and so then now they have like a filter thing where you can filter for Prime stuff. But one of the reasons is, oh hey, I'm going to watch this, and since they already have your credit card on file, boom, you spent $4 here, you spent $2 there. You didn't realize that $100 worth of media you consumed wasn't all Prime covered until you get your statement at the end of the month. So they've made a couple of changes like that. But like I say, it's really I'm thinking real hard about getting one of these. But like I say, for me, I have to add the 100 for Android or Amazon Prime to get really any functionality out of it.
I love me some Amazon Prime. I paid for it back when it was $79, I think, and when I renew, I will happily pay the updated cost because I'm impatient and I don't like people. And you put those two things together, I can order it online and have it here the next day. That covers the impatient, and I don't have to talk to anybody. That covers the don't like people. It's great.
Right. Of course, the only bad thing is, when you order everything online, you kill the local businesses because nobody buys from them because they're all staying at home. It's great for UPS and FedEx, but it's not good for mom and pop's hardware store that's been around for 4 generations but barely survived Walmart. But now Amazon's going to kill them.
They just need to become verified Amazon sellers, and we're good. I don't want to diss your point there. I recognize that is the thing, but I also recognize that that's just the way things go. I mean, nobody misses the wheelwright or the lamplighter anymore. Nobody misses the stagecoach driver. Those things, they were things. Now they're not things anymore. So it's you had a good run. You had 40 years. Go do something else.
Right, so anyway, we need to have a show about this whole is internet killing the local communities. That's going to be a show.
Right, put that on the list.
Yeah, so
that's good. Okay, and then our last story of the week: Google's DoubleClick servers accidentally, maybe, exposed millions of people to bad stuff.
Yes, so we can thank Malwarebytes, my favorite Windows-based anti-malware solution. They basically they noticed some things like at Last.fm, the Times of Israel, Jerusalem Post. So I'm thinking, maybe people who live in Israel. After digging, they realized the problem was coming from Google's DoubleClick ad servers. That some of them, I don't necessarily know if they kind of got compromised and were serving up malicious ads designed to spread the Zmot malware. Google representatives confirmed the breach and saying their team is aware and taking steps to shut it down. But here's one of those things. You have this ultra secure site that everything is updated. You have your 87 character alphanumeric haystack password that you change every 4 minutes just to ensure no one can hack it. Your site's tight, but in order to make some money, you have Google Ads running. Well, guess what? Google Ads got hacked, and now your site has become a spewer of malware out onto the world.
Yeah, and the thing is, what Google did wrong there is it lets you pick the HTML code that you put in your ad. And it's not so much that it's a wrong thing. Advertisers want that. They don't want just the little blue text ads. They want real banner ads, and Google offers those, and they let you write some of your own code, and they do a good job supposedly of parsing that code, but they weren't good enough this time. So somebody bought ads designed to spread a malware bot.
Yeah, and and it's one of those things. It's I hope this analogy doesn't offend people, but nobody knew to stop planes from flying into buildings because it had never been done before. Nobody realized that, nobody realized to block against it hadn't been done before. So it was, now that it has been done, and hopefully they'll take steps and prevent this attack from being done in the future. So it's kind of, my hats are off to them. It's like, I never would have thought to distribute malware that way. Kudos to you for coming up with a new way, but now we're going to shut you down.
Yes. Thank you for being a useless scumbag, but an innovative useless scumbag.
Yeah. I mean, if only we could use your powers for good.
Exactly. The trouble is the money's better on the dark side, and they have cookies.
It really is. Yes.
All right, so I'm going to say that wraps up the news section this week. So, Seth, what do you have for us for this week in history?
Okay, 1982, love 'em or hate 'em, Scott Fallon posts the first documented emoticons, the smiley face and frowny face using the hyphen for the nose, on the Carnegie Mellon University bulletin board system.
Wow, what a blast from the past this was personally to me. I used to work for Carnegie Mellon School of Computer Science. And Scott Fallon is a really fun guy. I believe that he still uses the Linux desktop.
Cool. Yeah, and like
there you
my
have
niece. Yeah, my niece does them backwards. Like, I do colon nose parentheses or colon dash parentheses.
Right.
She'll do parentheses dash colon. And I keep telling her, quit typing that garbage. You do it wrong.
I've noticed that actually. That's a generational thing. Lots of kids now do it the other way, just because you kids today messing up our emoticons.
Yeah.
Of course, now they're all onto emoji, which I was using a Facebook Messenger phone app. Don't, by the way. I was just playing with it, and I put it on my phone, and the person I was talking with used an emoji, and it filled my whole screen with this weird yellow smiley face. And I thought, this is not what I wanted. I wanted a little winky thing. I didn't want to fill my screen with this giant thing. You kids today and your darn emoji. I don't understand you. Get off my lawn.
Amen.
Remember the days when they were just text-based and a couple of characters? No. All right.
Yeah, I thought you were just saying don't use the Google Messenger.
No, I was saying that. That were two statements there. Don't use the Facebook Messenger app on Android. It's a pig. And don't use emoji.
Well,
for the same reason.
I refuse to download the Facebook Messenger app, and it's not because of the permission issue. I understand they simply updated their thing. I just refuse to use it because you had one crappy app that still didn't have all the functionality of the website. You've removed some of the core functionality of it. I'm not going to have two of your crappy apps on my phone, so I refuse to install the Facebook Messenger app on my devices.
Well, that's the thing that everybody's doing now. Separate apps. Google had Google Docs. Then they transitioned you from Docs to Drive. Then they transitioned you from Drive to different apps for Sheets and for Docs and for presentations. And I don't really understand what that's about. Why? I don't get it. Maybe it's better coding, but everybody seems to be splitting out functionality now.
Yeah, so I just go to the website and get a more richer experience.
Hussein Alehi in the chat room says emoji is bad for the children.
This is not what Dr. Fallon had in mind whenever he first discussed the emoticon. It was to resolve a flame war or I guess preempt potential flame wars about how to discuss the fact that you're only kidding with your thoughts.
Yeah, so much of communication is nonverbal, and you don't get any of that online. I've had that experience. I've had somebody take something I said offhandedly in text that if I'd said it in person with a smile and a wink, it wouldn't have been a problem. But because I said it in text, it spawned like a 6-month argument. So it happens. Be careful what you type, people. Practice safe texting. So Seth, let's wrap up the show with your time-wasting activity of the month. What have you done? What have you got to bring down my productivity this week?
Okay, well, this one has real potential to making you look worse to your employers than I could possibly work. This is a slideshow that I came across on Yahoo where they take basically movie sets, like, for example, a lot of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings was filmed in New Zealand. And so, they have these movie sets that were built, but now they're kind of abandoned. So whether it be from The Fugitive or to The Hobbit or anything else, you can click through this slideshow and kind of see what they look like, so it'll show like a scene and then kind of how it looks today. I just thought it was kind of interesting to look at, and hopefully you will too. So
yeah, I've seen things like this before, and yeah, it's just cool to you recognize something that you saw, and now it's a whole different context.
Yeah, and it's kind of, but again, I can't make them all weird or it loses the appeal. So I try to throw in some palate cleansers and occasionally a few productive things that are actually productive. But this is just kind of meant to be.
So as I was watching Peyton Manning get destroyed by the Seattle Seahawks again today, there was a commercial, and it's just a quick scene where somebody pulls into a diner of some sort, and the one of the signs, handwritten signs on the diner, says Choice Prime Rib, and I'm sure only a food geek would notice that, but it's either Choice or it's Prime. It can't be both. They're grades of meat. Can't be Choice Prime Rib. And it bothered me, and I'm telling you now, my audience, if you know somebody who's responsible for that commercial, go kick them in the shin, because there's no such thing as Choice Prime
is
Rib.
what you want.
Yes.
You don't want Choice, you want Prime.
Well, there's Select, Choice, and Prime. Select is what you don't want. Select is just above dog food, and then there's Choice, which is what most people get. That's what you buy at the grocery store, and then Prime is the top 2%. But there's no such thing as Choice Prime.
Man, I went to Hibachi yesterday for celebrating a birthday, and and of course I ordered the chicken and steak, and I told the guy, they said, "How do you want your steak?" And I said, "Very extremely well done." And he just looked at me and went, "Huh?" And I was like, he's like, "So you want beef jerky?" And I'm like, "Yep, let's snap into a Slim Jim." So
shoe leather.
But he
for me,
did good. Yeah. He did good. So I got it the way I liked it, and it was very enjoyable. So.
See, for you, the Select would be fine then, because you don't actually care about flavor or juiciness or texture.
No, I do care about texture, but a certain texture that I enjoy eating beef jerky.
Bacon.
Bacon and beef jerky. I'm happy camper.
Oh, and that's the way this show goes, folks. Everything from the high-minded discussions of net neutrality to overcooking the wrong cut of meat.
No, properly cooking the wrong cut of meat.
You only get that here on this show, and we thank you for listening. If you would like to let us know what you think, again, we have an upcoming show about a follow-up, a listener feedback show to our privacy versus file sharing discussion that we had a few weeks ago. If you want to comment on that or anything else, go to elementop.com, click the Contact Us button at the top of the show, and that will send us a nicely formatted email that gets priority in my inbox, and I will see that, and we'll respond to it, as I did with the three guys at the top of the show today. If you want to skip that step and go straight to email and fire up Pine and send me a text-based email, you can do that to edl@elementop.com. That goes to all three of us. Or if you want to be on the show in a very real way, have your voice next to my voice, you can do that. You can call our Google Voice number 559-IMOP anywhere in North America. It's a free call. Leave us a message and we'll play it on the show. If you're outside the U.S. or just don't like Google Voice for some reason, just send me a file of your favorite OGG, Theora, whatever. Just keep it under a couple of minutes, and we'll do that. We love to hear from you because this is your show. You're the reason we do it. And as always, I thank you for listening. Bethlyn, thank you for hanging out with us for a couple of hours this week and for your insights and your commentary. And Seth, as always, thank you for being the awesome host that you are. And I'm going to say that ends this episode of Everyday Linux.
Oh, one thing,
Thanks,
I really
guys.
hope some people call in because I would love to hear some people's actual voices for our feedback show.
Okay.
And thanks, Beth.
It was a pleasure.
All right, and that's how we do a show. And so for the couple of guys, we should cover how Japan should govern themselves next time for the show to be complete. You know, that wouldn't be off topic here, Hussein. That's kind of the way we roll. We'll tell every government in the country what they're doing wrong, or in the country, in the world.
Well, and in the country, because you know,
it's true.
There's lots of governments in America. So,
all right, thanks you guys watching the live show. I'm gonna say goodnight now. We'll see you next week.